Hello, this is Steven Johnson. I'm a data community advocate here at Shipyard. I know what you're probably thinking. This video is much longer than the normal video that we put out over at Shipyard. And we thought we'd mix it up and do something a little bit different today. And so what we're going to do in this video is we're going to do an end-to-end data project. So that means we're going to start with everything completely fresh. So the data is not going to be in our database, not going to be inside of Shipyard. And we're going to extract that data using Python scripts. So then once we get done extracting that data using Python scripts, we're going to put that into BigQuery. Once that is inside of BigQuery, we're going to do some transformations using dbt core. So we're actually going to host a dbt core instance inside of Shipyard, which should be pretty cool to see. And then once that data is transformed, we're going to take it into Looker Studio and do some basic visualizations. This video is not going to be heavy on visualizations. It's going to be heavy on the extraction and transformation part. But I'm excited to kind of go from A to B to C to D here, because usually our videos kind of just go A to B. So I'm excited to kind of go full scope here. And so if you're watching this video and you want to kind of know what you need to do, what you need to know to kind of follow along so that you won't get lost through the video, we will be using some Python, just some straight Python scripts. I'm not going to spend just too much time breaking down the Python scripts. I've already, some of those are already pre-written, and I'm going to kind of run through those to see kind of what's going on with those Python scripts, kind of pulling the data from YouTube and Webflow. But you're going to need a little bit of Python knowledge. You're also going to need a little bit of SQL knowledge as well. My SQL knowledge, I'm not an expert by any stretch of the imagination. I know just enough to be dangerous. And you'll see that in this video. Thankfully, there's all kinds of resources out there in the world to kind of let you know SQL and Python as well. So I used some of those resources to kind of write the code that I needed to get this data transformed, to get to the form that I needed it to be. And so once that data is transformed, we're going to take it into Looker Studio. Again, we're not gonna do any crazy visualizations. We're just going to test and make sure the data got there like we wanted it to. So that's what we're going to do in this video. Is we're going to kind of go A to D, I guess, here in this video from extraction to Looker Studio. But I'm excited to kind of show a full process flow inside of Shipyard, just to kind of show how you can orchestrate a full process like this for your organization, whether y'all use Webflow and YouTube for videos and for your content management system. But even if you don't, this process can apply to almost any system out there in the world, as long as you can hit it with a Python API call. This process flow should work for you as well. So with all that being said, let's jump into extracting the data from Webflow and YouTube. So jumping over into our Fleet Builder, we can go ahead and get started with that extraction phase of this project. But before we actually start writing any code and kind of putting some code on paper per se, I want to kind of show the data that we're trying to pull out here, just so we all have an idea of what we're trying to actually accomplish here. So looking at YouTube, so if you've been on our YouTube channel, which you might be watching this on our YouTube channel right now, you know that we have solution videos for vendor to vendor kind of A to B solutions. So we kind of have those going down here. There's some DBT ones, YouTube and Whisper ones, so on and so forth there. So we have these solution videos that we have inside of our YouTube channel. And so we have those videos, and we have, obviously they have their views, their comments, their likes, things like that. But at Shipyard, we have, at this point, we have not pulled that into a database so that we can analyze that. And so that's what we're trying to accomplish in this video. First off is getting this YouTube data into a database so that we can analyze it to see what videos are doing better, what videos aren't doing as good, so that we can, properly track what we should continue doing in the future. And then to kind of match those up, if you've been to our website, you should know that we have our solution page on our website. So let me just show what that looks like real quick. So our solutions page is here. So I can click on one of these, and it kind of shows you the A to B, things like that. And then if it has a video, it's going to show up here. Not all of them have videos. So that's something we got to take care of later on inside this video as well. So not all of them have videos, but for those of them that do, we want to pull these. We want to pull all the solutions here from Webflow. We have all the video URLs in there, so that we're able at that point to kind of match video ID from YouTube to video ID inside of Webflow. And then in the future, we can actually pull in some Google Analytics data so that we know which pages are getting views off of the YouTube videos, which we can obviously match up with some UTM parameters as well. That's outside the scope of this project. We might follow up this video with another one kind of matching all those together. But all we're doing right here is pulling the data from YouTube, pulling the data from Webflow, making sure that we can match the solution CMS things here. So from here to our actual YouTube videos here. And that's what we're going to accomplish by the end of this video. So let's jump back in the Shipyard and show how we can do that. And so again, we currently don't have blueprints to pull data from YouTube or to pull data from Webflow. So we're going to have to use actual custom Python scripts here. So Shipyard, we do have our low-code blueprints that we'll get into a little bit later. But we're going to start off with some basic Python. So we're going to start off with that. And the first thing we're going to do is actually pull the YouTube data. So I'm going to name this download data from YouTube. Okay, and I'll name it YouTube download.py. Again, that file name's not that important. Just keep it that way, or you can name it whatever you want to, as long as it's as long as you can tell what it is. So again, I'm not going to just write all this code just fresh for you. I'm going to talk to the code as I kind of put it into the channel. Excuse me. So starting off here, we're going to import request JSON and OS. So request is so we can make that API call. JSON is for some formatting stuff that we'll get into later. And then OS is so that we can use environment variables so that we can hide our API keys. Of course, definitely you don't have to hide your keys, but definitely a pro tip from us at Shipyard, just so no one can log into your account and see that key kind of in your code. So the first thing that we want to do is we want to grab our YouTube channel, like our YouTube videos. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to paste in this. This function here. Get channel videos. It takes the channel ID. It also takes an API key. And so you can see what it's doing is basically it's taking the base video URL and then this API URL from Google. It's putting in that channel ID in there, and then basically it's going to grab all the videos, all the information, or all the basic information for these videos, so we can call those video IDs later on, and then actually get the views, the likes, the comments, the descriptions, the titles, so on and so forth there. So you can see that we're returning the video links from that. So you can see that we're basically looping through all those videos to get those out. So that's what that function's doing there. And so what we're going to do is I'm going to kind of paste this next block in here as well. So it's outside of the function. And so what we're doing here, so here's the first thing that I really want to take a note of here. So inside of Shipyard, if you're using your own custom Python scripts, you do have the ability to do an environment variable to hide API keys. So this is the first chance that we're going to see that. So since we did it this way, I can come down here to environment variables. I can add an environment variable. I'm adding it to API key because that's what I called it. And then I'm going to go ahead and throw my API credential in there. There you go. You can see it's hidden. I can view it. I'm not going to. But then once I click save, that's going to go away forever, and you're never going to be able to actually visibly see that API key inside the platform ever again, which I think is a pretty cool feature. So you can see our channel ID here. So you can see we're using that function above to get channel videos, channel ID, API key, feeding those two values in to get all of our channel videos. You can see I'm going to print those as well. So whenever we actually run this, we'll get that information, and so on and so forth here. So that we're going to grab our video IDs from, because we did get the URLs. So we're just going to grab just the endpoint, which is what the video IDs are. Okay, so we're going to get all of our video IDs there. So moving down the code here, we got one more function. So this is to get the video information. So this is where you're going to actually get the, actually tell YouTube what information you want from it. So we have our base URL that we're calling the API. And then basically this part with the statistics, snippet, content details, topic details. So that's what we're telling YouTube. We want to hit those specific API endpoints. So there's a few more that YouTube has. Like I know, for example, if you have live streams on YouTube, you can call a specific endpoint to get live stream information as well. So those are just the ones that we need for this video. So I'm going to go ahead and scroll down. We're going to make that request call there, turn it into JSON, and then we're going to turn that data outside of that function call. And then again, we are going to make our video ID, API key, get video info there. All right, so we're ready to go there. So now what we're going to do, so now that we have a function to get our video information, now we got to actually loop through all that, basically turn it into a data frame, so then we can spit it out as a CSV, so we can feed it into BigQuery later on. So this bit of code probably could be written better. Some would argue definitely could be written better. But that's okay. I'm not promising the best code here. I'm just promising it gets the job done. So what you can see we're doing here, basically I've manually coded all the column names that I want there. I have my blank list for info for videos, and I'm going to loop through that. And you can see basically the JSON kind of structure here. So data, items, the first one, so on and so forth there as we keep going down. And that's going to loop through and grab all of the video information for us there. And then it's going to put it into that list. It's going to append it into video info, so on and so forth as we loop through. And then last but not least here, we got to take this data that we have inside of this data frame, or inside of this JSON. We're going to turn it into a data frame and then print it out as a turn it into a CSV so we can download it that way. So that's what we're doing here. So we imported pandas down here, turned it into a data frame, the info for videos. We cleaned up a few things here. We ran into some issues where essentially we ran into some issues that the video description has some emojis in it. Basically where we threw in some emojis to make it, a little bit more fun to read. It wasn't just a wall of text. Unfortunately, BigQuery really does not like emojis being in your database. So what I decided to do is just go ahead and drop that column there. But then you can see down here, we've taken this to YouTube data.csv. That's what we'll call later on down the road to actually kind of reference this file and upload it to BigQuery. But that's all we need to do there to get the data from YouTube. And now we just need to install our Python packages. So if you remember, we use pandas. So scrolling back up here, we use pandas, we used request, JSON, and OS. So requests it can get, and then JSON and OS are going to be system packages, so we won't actually have to install them. You can see that there. And then, of course, the same thing for OS, so we don't have to install those two. So we do have pandas and requests. So that's all we need to do. That's going to get that data from YouTube for us. So that's perfect there. So now we need to go ahead and grab the data from Webflow. Now, Webflow's documentation has great documentation on how to use their API. So, thankfully, this is more of a copy and paste job from Webflow's website. So kind of working from there. So again, another custom Python script. We're going to name this download solution, if I can spell, solution data from Webflow. Okay, so then we can name the file Webflow data or download.py. There we go there. So we're good to go on naming conventions. All right. So now running through this code, again, this was going to be a much easier code to look at than the last one. So what we have here, import request, import OS. So I'm going to go ahead and install request or else I'll forget. So request there. And just something to note about Shipyard, kind of a pro tip. If you have all these scripts inside of GitHub and have a requirements.txt, we're just going to install those packages for you. You don't have to manually do it. Something I wanted to note there before we continue. So you can see that we also have the API key being hidden as Webflow API there. So I'm going to go ahead and put that in there as well. So Webflow API. Let me grab that API key for us there. Copy, paste that in. So that's good there. So it's going to feed that into the code for us. So if you remember from Webflow, we had 503 solutions. So again, I'm kind of feeding in the vast majority of those there. I kept a few out just because I knew that they didn't fit. So we call our API, throw in our API key there. It's going to return our data as response. I'm going to turn that into a dictionary, and I'm going to loop through that dictionary and kind of put that into a list of solutions. So that's what we're going to get there is kind of a list of solutions. You can see I made the empty list there for solutions. So we're going to have our empty list of solutions. And so now the next thing we're going to do is we're going to kind of name our keys. So again, this is a bit of manual code here. Probably could do this a little bit better, but that's okay. So I just went through and named these things because I knew how they were going to come in. And then next, we want to kind of turn this thing into a CSV from that list format. So I'm going to paste the code in here. We got to import CSV. That should not be, there we go. So I don't think we have to install CSV. I think that's an internal module. It is, great. So our file name is going to be solutions.csv there. So we're going to open it and then write those rows into the CSV, and that file name is going to be written successfully. So we're going to have our two file names, which are solutions.csv and YouTube data.csv. So at this point, our data has been extracted. So our data has been extracted at this point, and now what we're going to do is actually load that data into BigQuery. All right, so now we're jumping into where we want to upload this data into BigQuery. So again, these two Python scripts are going to extract the data and save it as CSVs for us. And so now what we need to do is take it into BigQuery. And so thankfully for us in Shipyard, we have low-code blueprints that are going to do that for us. So I just got to search for our BigQuery blueprints. You can see we have upload file to table from Shipyard. So I'm going to click that. Close our authorization page. We're going to put this in our... make sure we're going to put this in our DBT core solutions data set there. So DBT core solutions, the table name. So for our Webflow data, we're going to call that raw solutions. And that file name is solutions.csv, what we named it. And the last thing we need, well, first off, we want to do an override data here because we're just going to do a full pool every time. And then we can use our BigQuery credentials from Shipyard, import those in there. We're good to go. We just need to connect those together. So now basically if that solution data from Webflow is pulled in successfully, it's then going to upload it into BigQuery. And again, we want to do exactly the same thing, but for the YouTube data as well. So again, we're going to put that into DBT Core Solutions with a table name of raw YouTube data. Again, that data is YouTube data.csv. We're going to override the data, and then of course that service account again we're going to take from our credential management system, connect those together. This section is much shorter than the last section, right? And so that's kind of the joy of using Shipyard, is if there's a solution that we have for you in our low-code blueprints, it makes getting some of this stuff done much more quickly, because otherwise we would need to actually write some Python scripts there to actually get this data uploaded into BigQuery. Since we have blueprints ready for you, you just got to use our blueprints, fill in your information there just like I did, and that data is going to go into BigQuery. So now at this point in this project, we've extracted the data from Webflow and YouTube using our Python scripts, and then we've used Shipyard's low-code blueprints to upload the data into BigQuery. So the next thing we're going to do is actually start writing our DBT core models, so then we can actually run DBT. So let's jump into that. So what we're going to jump into now is a little bit of DBT Core. So DBT Core inside of Shipyard, we have guides out there to help you get started with DBT Core, no matter whether you use BigQuery, Redshift, Snowflake, or Databricks. I have a guide. We have guides for you to get started with those. So I'm skipping the steps that are in those guides that kind of get set up inside of DBT Core. So you can kind of see the starting point here that we have. So, and of course with DBT Core, all your models and things are going to be hosted in GitHub. So you can see our starting point here. So the only things that I've actually built is at my DBT project. I've kind of changed the name, have some model configurations down here. And then similarly for my profile, I also have that set up to connect to the DBT database that we have. And then the data set will be DBT Steven there. And then last but certainly not least, we have our execute DBT Python script that's actually going to run inside of Shipyard. So looking at that real quick, so you can see down here in the bottom, I have a blueprint set up that is DBT core commands here. That's what we're going to use to actually run the DBT. So that's what I have done prior to this video. So I'm not going to walk through those steps because they're available in the guide. Again, I'll link those in the comment or in the description of the video below so that you can run through those steps to run DBT core as well. So anyway, so jumping into the DBT core, so all of this work's going to be done inside of Visual Studio Code, so VS Code. So let me expand this a little bit so it's bigger. Okay, so look at this. So you can see we want staging, intermediate, and marts. So in our models folder here, we're going to go ahead and create a few more folders. So we need staging. We need we need intermediate. And last but certainly not least, we need our marts. Okay, so there's our three folders. So of course, we're going to start with staging here. And then I can kind of look at our BigQuery data here. So DBT Core Solutions. So we're going to start with our solutions data here. So our raw solutions, you can see there's the data that got loaded in there. We can preview it inside of BigQuery. You can see there it is. So what we're going to do inside of VS Code, so we're going to create a staging table. So I'm going to call this STG for staging solutions.sql. So there we go. And we're going to be super boring. And we're going to do a select star from Shipyard -demos.dbt. Well, exactly that. Thank you, VS Code. Perfect. So that's exactly what we want there. So we're just going to select that to get our staging table to be our raw data there. So that's perfect. So we're going to go ahead and save that for that table. And then we're going to do exactly the same thing, except we're going to do staging YouTube.sql. And again, we're going to do exactly the same thing. So I'm just going to be lazy and copy and paste here in, except instead of raw solutions, that's going to be raw YouTube data. Go ahead and save that. And again, I can look at that YouTube data as well. You can see that's what's coming in. There's our data. So great. So that's going to basically set those staging tables for us. So it's just going to be the raw data that we can work off of. And then for each one of these folders, we're going to need a schema.yaml file. And you just kind of copy and paste this based on the template that DBT had. So I'm going to paste that in for us. So we have our table name, the description, table name, and the description. Of course, these get kind of taken over into BigQuery to give you those tables descriptions for you. You can go down and do like column level descriptions as well. I'm not going to do that in this video, but definitely an option for you. So that is our staging models there. So pretty simple, nothing crazy there. But that's what we want to do for staging. All right, so now moving into intermediate models. So starting off, we're going to do our intermediate solutions.sql. Okay, so one of the things that we got to clean up in our raw solutions data here is you can see, if I preview data, you can see down here in our YouTube video kind of column, it is a dictionary. So what we want to do is we want to pull that URL out here. And then, of course, we just want to pull just the YouTube ID. Because remember, that's what's coming in from YouTube is just the YouTube video ID. So we want to keep that ID, and then we want to pull it out of that column and make it into a new column. So that's what we're going to do with our intermediate solutions model here. So we're going to do that kind of in 2 steps. So I'm going to do with query dictionary as, and I have my select statement here. I'm going to capitalize it. It's like a good SQL user should. And we're going to do name as solution name. So we're going to rename that to be solution name because it'll be a little bit more descriptive. We have description as solution description there. Perfect. Synopsis, we're just going to keep that the same. We got slug. We have primary blueprints. We have secondary blueprints. They're not plural. Sorry about that. Secondary blueprint. We have integrations used. So that lets us know like if it used like DBT or Snowflake or something like that. So perfect there. Categories, so that lets us know what the solution category falls into. We have role, so who might actually want to use it. YouTube, link, embed, so perfect there. We got underscore CID, which is the collection ID there. So rename that so it's more readable. We have just the ID. We'll keep that just as ID there. That works. We got YouTube video, which is that column we're gonna play with here in a second. We have YAML definition, which is going to be the YAML so that you can put it into a fleet. So now we're going to actually, do some of that JSON work there, some of that dictionary work. So so BigQuery has a function called JSON extract scalar. So you can see Colab's already typing that in for me, so I'll be lazy and go ahead and work with it. So this is where we're going to put the column that we want to work with, which if you remember is the YouTube video column. Well, YouTube video column, if I can copy and paste correctly, there we go. And then going back to BigQuery, so it's in this column, and it's the key that we want is the URL. So we're going to have that .url, and we're going to name that as the YouTube URL. So perfect. So that's going to actually pull that out as its own column. So the YouTube URL is going to be its own column there. So perfect. So then we can say that is from. Oh, yeah, there we go. And then we can do our ref here since we're using DBT. That's one of the cool things about DBT. So we're going to ref our staging solutions table. Okay, so query dictionaries is good to go. So now I can do, I'm going to name this next one query YouTube ID because we're going to pull the YouTube ID out of this. So as, there we go. So this one can be a little bit lazier. So select. So we're going to do a select star, comma. We're going to pull a substring. Because again, we want to just take away the actual URL part and only keep the ending, which is the YouTube video ID. So we're going to do a substring of that, of the YouTube URL. Let's see, so we do our string position there. And we want to do the YouTube. So yeah, just exactly like that. Collab is spectacular. We're going to name that to the YouTube video ID. So let me explain what's going on here. So we're doing a substring. We're going to find the equal sign there, and we're going to go to the position next to that. So you can see in the YouTube URL, it's always watch, question mark, the equal sign, and then the video ID. So we're just going to get the things after that equal sign there, which is perfect. So as the video ID, which it works, and we're going to reference that from the query dictionary. So perfect there. And then the last thing we need to do is just select star, if I can spell. So we'll do a select, Colab let me down there. So we'll do a select star from query dictionary. I'm sorry, query YouTube ID. Perfect. So it's gonna query this subquery here. So we're good to go there. So that is our intermediate solutions table there. So perfect. So that's intermediate solutions. So now what we're gonna do is we're gonna do an intermediate YouTube table. Gonna be a lot less complicated than what we just did there. So intermediate YouTube.sql. So the only thing we want to do in our YouTube table, if you remember, we had this weird number field here, which is just that index coming in from Python. We're going to get rid of this column here. Just wipe that out, just so we can keep our data clean. So we're just going to do a simple select, and we're just going to list these columns. So video ID, which again is going to be that primary key that we can match off of. Date published. We got video title, video tags. Let's see. Does video have caption? Oops, I need a comma there. Here we go. Does it have caption? Video view count. We're going to have video like counts. And then we'll have video comments counts. Perfect there. And that's going to be from, we can reference, do our reference stage, YouTube. Perfect. There we go. So that's just going to take that one column out there, keep everything else the same. So again, for our intermediate folder, we're going to also need a schema.yaml. And again, I'm just going to copy and paste off of that format that we had for in DBT. So there's that intermediate. So I'm just saying what I'm doing here. So parsing through the JSON and extract the YouTube video ID. And then I'm just cleaning up the data a little bit there. So perfect. So we're going to go ahead and save that. So now we have intermediate tables ready to go. So now the last thing we're going to do is create our MARC tables here. So what we're going to do in our MARC tables, so for the solutions, we're literally just going to copy the intermediate table, move on. So since we did all the work in the intermediate table, we're going to stop there. What we're going to do for our YouTube data is we're actually going to separate it into a dimension in a fact table. I am a product of using Power BI, so I love a good star schema. I love a good dimension and fact table. So we're going to do that here just to kind of show the functionality that we can do. So what I'm going to do, we're going to start with that marked solutions .sql there. And again, like I said, we're just going to do a simple select star from, and then we're going to ref that intermediate solutions table there. So perfect. Good to go. That's all we got to do there. So very simple on that one. So yeah, our MARC table, we don't really want to have too many transformations going. So next we're going to do our YouTube dimension table. So dimensions.sql. So we're going to select, the video ID. So remember, that's our key. So video ID, we're going to do the date published. We're going to do the title of the video. We're going to do the tags of the video. And then we're going to do, does the video have captions? And listen, I've gotten into many fights, many days with many people about whether or not Boolean values belong in the dimension or a fact table. If you have any opinions on that, leave them in the comments below. I love to hear. I don't get to do that as much as my job at Shipyard is getting to talk about kind of star schemas and whether things should go, like kind of the data architecture work of like trying to plan out where data should go in tables. So yeah, if you have any opinions on kind of whether Boolean values belong in dimensions or fact tables, leave them in the comments below. Let's get us a good discussion going on that. So anyway, so we have our dimension values here. So perfect. So then the last thing we need to make here is the mart of YouTube fact.sql. And again, very similar to what we just did there. So we'll have our select. And we're going to do our video ID, because remember, that is our primary key. So we got to keep that in there. So video ID, comma, video view counts. Perfect. We're going to have our video like counts. And then we're going to have our video comment count there. And that is going to be from the reference table of intermediate YouTube. So perfect. So now we have our YouTube fact table, YouTube dimension table, our mart solution table. So we're good to go for all of our tables. So now we need to get our schema file in there. So schema.yaml. So perfect. So again, gonna be lazy, copy and paste that from my notes. Put them in there. Again, putting marts, YouTube fact table, dimension table, Mart solutions. So we're gonna save that. So that's all that we need to do for our DBT models inside of VS Code here. So now what we're gonna need to do is pull up GitHub desktop here. You can see all the changes that we made. So we're gonna say added models for solutions in YouTube. I'm gonna commit that to my main, push to origin. Since I'm the only one working on this, didn't do a PR. So again, I'm sure you can definitely laugh at me in the comments if you don't like GitHub desktop and you'd rather use the terminal. But listen, I get to click a button and push stuff to GitHub, so you can't argue with the results there. So anyway, so that's good there. So we have our models ready to go. We can check that out in GitHub here. So I do a quick refresh. We can see our models here. There's all of our models we just added in. So that's good to go there. All right, so now let's pop back into Shipyard and actually use this. So again, I created this blueprint kind of before the video. That's all in our guides for DBT Core, getting started with Shipyard. Again, that'll be linked in the description below. I'm gonna go and click on DBT Core commands. So since I don't have too complicated of a process here, I'm just gonna do a simple DBT run there, and it's gonna actually run that data, like run those models for us. So that is setting up DBT Core to run inside of Shipyard there. So we got our model set up, we have our project set up, we have our profile set up. So this is set up to run against BigQuery to actually run these tables and do our transformations. So now the last thing we have to do to kind of get this full thing set up is actually taking our data into Looker Studio, which thankfully is just going to be a connection between the two. So actually, what we're going to do now is we're going to actually go ahead and click the Save Fleet. And then we're going to actually kick this thing off to run. And we're going to take a look at the logs and look and see the kind of information that Shipyard gives you based on this DBT Core run. So we kicked off our fleet to run. You can see that takes us to our fleet log page, which is going to kind of give us like a vessel by vessel breakdown of this thing as it's running. And so you can see the download data from YouTube. You can see that vessel has just started here since it's that yellowish orange color. So that means that it's currently running inside of our platform. So whenever that thing completes successfully, it's going to turn green. And then if it finishes not successfully, it's going to turn red. And so we'll wait for that guy to finish here. It just turns green. So I can actually click into that and it's going to show me the Python output from that. If you remember, I had a few print statements out, but you can see I printed out all the URLs that we pulled from YouTube, and then that success message of data extracted to YouTube data.csv. So we do have some success. Like, so if you do print some things out, like it's going to show you in the console, just like it would if you were like coding in Python on your local machine. So we always have, for our low code blueprints inside of Shipyard, we have error handling, success messages and things like that built out for you. So that if something goes wrong, like say that you're just like me and don't know how to type in your password or something like that, we'll let you know, like, hey, your password's messed up, go fix that. Just so you're not, we try to save you some time while you're troubleshooting here inside of Shipyard. So anyway, so what I wanted, so while this is finishing up running, it takes around 2 minutes or so to run. I do want to pop over and look at the triggers here. So if we wanted to schedule this thing to run, we can schedule it based on hours, days, weeks, months, so on and so forth there. As many of those as we want. And we can actually do a webhook trigger as well. So we can actually send the webhook to actually start this fleet run. And then you can also send parameters to the webhook as well. So all those environment variables that we set throughout the whole process, we can set those at runtime as well as all the inputs inside of our blueprints as well. We also have version control. I'm not going to dig into that too much, but basically that allows you the opportunity to kind of go back and forth between fleets. Like every time you click save, it's going to actually show, it's going to create a new version for you inside of Shipyard so that you can revert back to old versions. You can create new fleets from those versions as well, and you can kind of compare the changes between the two. So there's something didn't work like you had expected. You can kind of go back and be like, well, what changed between these two? Like what did I do wrong here to fix this? And so that helps you out there. So you can see that at this point, we've downloaded the data from YouTube. We've uploaded that to BigQuery. We've downloaded the data from Webflow. We're uploading that into BigQuery as well. So when that turns green, we'll actually go into BigQuery real quick and look at that table that happens, or that table that was created. That's just those raw tables. I'm sorry, because we just override those every time we load those in. So those are definitely there. And so last but certainly not least is we're going to have our dbt core command run here. So this is what's actually making those transformations happen for us inside of BigQuery. So you can see that thing is actively running now. So it's connected to BigQuery running those models for us. And so if that turns green, we'll be able to look at the logs there and kind of show you what it shows you using dbt core. Very similar to what it shows you inside of dbt cloud, but of course just a different interface here, running this inside of Shipyard versus running it anywhere else. So as this finishes...
Okay. I found this on the web for Shipyard.
Well, that's how you know this is a live video. My Sirius went off over there. It's funny. So yeah, you can see with the output here from the dbt core run. So you can see we had the 4 threads with the target of dev. You can see the models that were ran here, created the views. You can see it finished running 7 views. It told us when it completed successfully. It gives us the pass, the warnings, the errors there. So everything built out like we wanted it to. So now I can actually go into BigQuery, look at dbt Steven. I'm going to refresh the contents here. You can see all of our tables here. There's our columns for our fact table, our solutions table here. So we have everything that we want inside of BigQuery here. So that is looking through the logs inside of Shipyard and just kind of verifying that this worked. So the last thing we have to do is we're going to pull all this data into Looker Studio and actually just do a quick visualization to make sure that we're getting the data that we want and to make sure that it's working as we expected. Okay, last but certainly not least, we're going to get into Looker Studio here and we're going to visualize this data from BigQuery just to make sure that the connections work like we want it to and we can actually model this data like we want. And again, not a Looker Studio expert, not going to say Looker Studio is the best BI tool in the market, but it does connect to BigQuery really quickly for us just so we can make sure that things work as we expected them to. So we're going to connect to BigQuery here. That's where our data is. Our data is, let's see, my projects. So I'm sorry, we're under Shipyard demos, dbt Steven, and we want to pull in just our Mart tables here. So Mart solutions we'll pull in first. That'll load in there. Yeah. So again, wish that I could load all 3 tables in at the same time, but you know that would you know we would lose the opportunity to click on all of them individually, which I think we all build character together by getting to click on all of them individually. So yeah, this is loading for us here. And again, we know how big these tables are. So yeah, this should take a long time here. Just being sarcastic, obviously. Loading in the data. Hopefully it'll finish loading in just a moment. So yeah, all we're going to do once we get this data in is we're just going to put it into a table, making sure that the name of the solutions from the website match up to the YouTube IDs that we have set up. Well, let's give this the old refresh here, and we'll try to restart. It shouldn't take that long. So Mart Solutions, add. There we go. So add that to the report. So you can see there's our Mart Solutions. When I go ahead and add the other tables as well. I thought I was going crazy there. So we'll do Mart YouTube Dimensions. We're going to add that to the table as well. There we go. And last but certainly not least, we're going to add the fact table in. There we go. So again, it's going to populate here, and it goes in and creates that visual, like that one little table for us. Definitely don't want that. We'll delete that off in just a second. Here we go again. It looks like I might have to do another refresh. Yep, go ahead and do another refresh here. There's our dimension. So now we just need our fact table in. Oops. Nope. Okay. Fact table. There we go. Add it in. Come on, Looker Studio. We believe in you. We believe that you can get this in here. Maybe. You might not believe. Well, this is definitely not how it went whenever when I was working on it before, but it's okay. Give it a couple more. Go ahead and refresh it. not giving I'm not giving Looker Studio a very good look right now. But hey, there we go. We did it. Okay, so there's our 3 tables. So now we got to make sure that they join together properly. So inside of Looker Studio, they call those blends. So we're going to manage our blends here. So add a blend. So we have our Mart YouTube Facts. We're going to do our Mart YouTube Dim. Then we're going to do our Mart Solutions. There we go. So we'll configure the join. So between those two, we're going to join the video ID with the YouTube video ID. There we go. And then we can join these two, video ID to video ID. Perfect. All right. So those look good to go there. Well, just kidding. We need to add the dimensions in. Forgot about that. So I have to go back and, okay, there we go. So we want to make sure that we add in what we want to use. So for our solutions, we want to add in the solution name there. And then video ID works for the rest of them. Okay, so go ahead and save. So that's saved. We can go ahead and close that blend. So now you can see in our blended data, it's one we want to use. So I'm going to get rid of this little table here. So our blended data, so we can put our solution name in there. And then we can put the video ID with it. So it loads up. Well, add dimension. We want to put the solution name in there with it. Yeah. What? If you can believe it or not, I used to do BI tools. That's my job. It's once you don't use it for a while, it definitely goes away. All right, so there we go. Okay, so you can see that the video IDs from YouTube are now being paired up successfully with our solution names inside of Webflow, which was the objective that we wanted here. Of course, we can further this project by connecting it to some GA data, any of our marketing data that we have, people looking at our website or looking at our YouTube videos. We can start connecting those together so we could actually get view counts for the solutions and things like that as we keep going. But this was just kind of the starting of this project, and I just wanted to kind of show kind of an A to D, A to E kind of workflow here inside of Shipyard. So again, just kind of running through everything that we completed in this video. So we extracted data from Webflow and from YouTube using Python. So after that, we extracted that data and saved it as CSVs. We uploaded it to BigQuery using our low-code blueprints inside of Shipyard. We then used dbt core, which we hosted inside of Shipyard as well. We used dbt core to do the transformations to get our staging, intermediate, and Mart tables. And then once we had those tables made using dbt core, we were then able to pull the data into Looker Studio as we can see. And we were able to actually just make sure that that data lines up like we wanted it to. So thank you for joining us for this long form solution video. Again, this is a lot different than what we usually publish on our YouTube channel. Much longer, much more in depth. If you want to see more of this content, make sure you like the video. Make sure you drop us a subscription, and you can see more of it. If you have any other ideas of kind of some other tools you'd like to see mixed in on these long-term videos or these long-term solution videos, make sure you comment those in the comments below. We'd love to do more of these long videos, but we don't want them to become stale. So if there's any other tool that you want us to use for extraction, for transformation, for visualization, if you want us to throw some reverse ETL in, anything like that you would like us to actually throw into one of these, drop it in the comments below, and we'd love to make those for future editions. We'll see you next time.